and go out and sell thousands of dollars worth of business off of that. That's our mission. That's our goal. That's why our ecosystem is built the way it's built, where we don't scale the amount of money we take from you based on how much you're capable of earning. We just want to alley-oop and help people succeed. And that's what we're building tools for. And so it's your participation, it's your questions during these AMAs, it's the going back and forth, it's the how can we better educate you how to use some of the capability and functionality within this whole ecosystem. All those things are super important to us. So I just say all that to say we really appreciate you guys showing up and participating. And as per usual, if along the way, as Brian is going through some of the new features and showing us some stuff, you have questions, don't hesitate to raise your hand or pop it in the chat, and we will do our best to get to it in the order that it came in. We will absolutely get to all of the questions, but we do try and keep these things limited to 1 hour. And I certainly have to keep it to an hour today. So try not to save your questions till the very end. With that, I'm going to pass off to Brian, and thanks again, everybody.
What up? So I'm going to spend time on 2 things: adding data to your white label, and B, then going into this fully completed weather geographic information system lead generation app. So one thing that I just wanted to start getting together, because we've realized we're getting a lot of the same questions, is how do you sell data? How do you list data in Avocadata? So this is going to be like a 5-minute overview of what the system is doing for that. So a little bit more background, why do you have to put your domain and whatnot. So every single Avocadata account, if you flip this switch and you're subscribed, you can actually build databases and sell data products to anyone in the ecosystem. So that can be your own users, or that can be other white labelers who can then resell your data and pay you forever and ever and ever. Perpetuity. So everyone on their $4.99 plan can create one database that they are actually listing their own data for. So the way it works is you would hook up your domain. So our domain, for instance, is avocadata.com. And within avocadata.com, all of these databases that are under my data. So here's our Avocadata, and then anyone that's under add database. These are our purchase databases. I'm sorry, these are the ones we created. So these databases we created, we can now sell to other users, sell to other businesses, and allow them to resell that to their users, or you can add it into your own account. So anything that's added to your own account, you can assign over to yourself. You would just have to click this button, which would show you all the databases in the system that you have put in for yourself. And when this eventually wants to load, because there's a lot, we'll come back to that tab when it loads up. So what you just saw was your ability to put in your own data, right? So these are the different databases that are just examples. So maybe you have a database of consumer information, business leads, age solar leads, age insurance leads. You would be able to make separate containers to stick each of those in. And when you make those containers, you can sell them to, again, your individual clients or to the whole ecosystem. So when we go down here, we can see that your own users might buy your data. Now, these other options, the sharing, white label, you don't have to do that. If you want to upload the data and just leave it for yourself and no one else can look at it, buy it, share it, contact you about it, that's not a problem. You have that ability to be totally private and not have anything shared with anybody. However, you do have the ability, if you wish to share it, for other people to actually sign up and pay you for it. So imagine this is another white label on Avocadata. This is another white label that sells solar leads. This might be another white label that's for recruitment. Well, if you're a data provider that shows people who just left their job, this white label for recruitment very well might want to work with you as a data provider and pay you now for the data that you originate from the very beginning. Why would they do that? Because there's over 400 different businesses on Avocadata that are operating their own white labels every day. So right now, there's a very large skew of clients that are the end users that we don't even interact with currently. And that was always our goal, because we don't want to know what everyone does. We'd rather just put together a group within an ecosystem and be able to network them together and get the best of both worlds with that. And at the same time, you can also just work on your own clients. So for instance, if I was going to upload age gutter leads, I would be able to sell it through to my own clients here in my own white label, or someone such as Avocadata can resell their leads in our white label and then pay them for the sales that we get. So it's infinite. It goes on and on and on. And that was just a little bit of the concept I wanted to break down on how this all works. So none of this costs money. If we don't charge you money to sell the data, we don't charge you money to meet other people. We just charge you the $4.99 a month to keep it in a container that you're allowed to move 1,000 records per minute. So I'm going to jump on to the white label a little bit more. So to do all that, you don't have to set up the white label in terms of the website. You can set up the website if you want to send people there. The reason why the white label is required is because all that data is now going to be hosted under your domain. So now when you're uploading your own data and leads, we now know that, oh, this is owned by you because it was originally, the intercept of it was through your hosted domain. And another reason why people would do that is they could want to enrich it. So let's say hypothetically you're sending out emails. You send out cold emails and 20% open once, and then 5% of those 20% or 25% of that will open it a second time, hypothetically. You theoretically could upload that data into a database like we just did here, we just showed you here, and you would be able to, let's say you're a real estate agent. You're doing cold email for real estate, and someone opened an email in December and the same person opened an email in May. Well, now, given that fact, you can actually put together the real estate intent database. And let's say we go and upload a list of people. We'll call them real estate buyers. So we'll just use an example. Let's just say this is the database I created of the people who are opening up emails for 2 consecutive periods. Now we have a list of hypothetically all the people that opened emails. You could save the list of people that opened emails. So we can say, all right, let's go save 1,000 people from my list of email openers. And now you can actually take that list once it finishes saving, and you can now compare, were those people who were opening those emails, were they looking for real estate actively on Google in March or maybe in April? So now you can pretty much build a really good time period to understand when and where and how frequently were they looking. Because if it's real estate, you're probably not going to act on it too quickly. But at the same time, consistent indicators such as this always work really well. So in summary, what we're doing in this instance is taking a list of people today opening emails and then comparing those people who open the emails to what they searched for in the month of May. That's just very specific, but that is how specific you can get if you truly want to understand who you're talking to. Now, that was one discovery I actually figured out over the week that I just wanted to share with you guys. And it's pretty viable, where, you know, if you have emails going out cold for, let's say, 12 months, you have a lot of data. And with that data, now you're able to re-upload it to Avocadata and compare it to other intent. So if you're looking for people who might want solar, You can then take that list of people who've been opening your emails and compare it to 12 months of solar databases to see who in that list was looking it up more than once, more than twice, more than 3 times. Not a perfect metric, but at the same time, you're using more advanced data to make better business decisions, to spend your time doing something that's worth, more while, given this age of AI that's taking up all the airwaves. But if you wanted to match, we found matches. So we found people who were looking in May and also opened emails from us. So what we can now do is I want to make sure that I just get the phone number. And why I want to do that is because, maybe the phone number changed. Skip Trace Wireless is the best. And then there's a B2B mobile phone, which I personally like. And I'll also do the address because I'm just curious to see, did they move? So we can click apply join. And now the database that we saved, the first 1,000 records, will now add in the extra columns of the matches we found. So the export of this CSV will only be of matches we found in both instances. It's a next level way to think. But if you're a marketing agency, this is what people are going to pay you for in the future. They're not going to be paying for AI bots, this, that, the other. An AI bot can figure out a lot of stuff. It's one thing AI cannot do really well is this type of reasoning. And that's where you, the human, comes in. And instead of just being a marketing agency, now I generate leads, I do this, I do that for you. You're like, no, I don't just do that. I'm actually digging deep into the data to give you real reports of what is and what isn't working in my solution of what you should do. Now you're getting paid for 2 things. You're getting paid to be some researcher that isn't determined on the performance of the campaign. And then you're also being paid for the campaign of the execution of your own research. So I just think it goes a very long way. That's how I've gotten this far to this point, is just trying to go about things much differently in terms of the value add for the actual end client, because we're all used to software. We've all been getting the same stuff fed to us, I'll say 10 years now. So you need to try to go about it a little bit differently, I would say. Now, any questions on anything up to this point? And if not, then I'm going to jump more into the weather app and how that skip tracing enrichment works tied to Avocadata. Any hands, questions, just shout it out. Nope, going once, going twice, moving on. So let's go take a look at weather. So right over here, the whole big thing that we're working towards is building more dashboards. I think of the easiest comparison is a computer, where when computers first came out, there was no iOS, there was no Windows, there was no applications. You had to direct it what you wanted to do. So similarly, when we go and look at this, 90% of everybody that I've ever come across hates this. They don't want to deal with this. Stresses them out. So what that does is lose a lot of clients. So if you're a marketing agency and your clients aren't adequate enough to deal with this level of detail, well, the next solution we've been coming up with is more of like a virtual app that allows people to engage with the data just in a much different way. So first thing that I would imagine most of everybody knows something about is maps, drawing, shapes, pretty simplified. So with this visualization, we are able to come across and start visualizing all the alerts and all the storm damage and all of the weather tracking that is going on within particular states. Let me just close some of my tabs so I don't crash. So a bunch of different UIs. You can filter the date range. This takes a few seconds to load depending on your computer, but you can filter the range to figure out where alerts were the severity, everything like that. So I'll just go to Florida because that's where I am. When we load up Florida, these were all the alerts that happened in the time period. So this is probably like last 7 days, but it's only doing the first 200. And all of these are exactly where storms happen. So you can click in on any of these and it'll drill into the actual storm that occurred. So these are all the details about the storm, the time, the day, the place, longitude, latitude, you name it, it's here. And from here, we're actually pulling all the details out of this alert. So when we hit process measurement, we can go over to our data operations and we can press a single button. You can within the app, you get a certain amount of refreshes a day, and you will start scraping all of the measurements that are within every single NOAA alert. So with that, you can then make a better decision of who you should contact based on maybe size of hail or anything like that. Additionally, every alert, you guys can automate pictures. So I'm going to go refresh the alerts manually. So it refreshes through a function every few minutes. So you guys can't manually refresh it, but you guys can get notified of the refreshes. And then you guys can, from the pictures, skip trace the homeowners and who to contact directly from this alert. So I just want to make sure my update happened. What's today? 11:55. Okay, so that's just the newest update. So what we can do, we can control what type of severity. So we'll just go by extreme. I may have already pulled some of these. Yeah, September 8th, I pulled that one. Let's see. Since they cut the budget, there's a lot less alerts going out. Select the first 10. I can hit capture. And it's actually going to start taking pictures of the map. And when it takes pictures of the map, it's going to get me the home addresses of everybody that's within the rules I preset. So the rules, what's the color magenta? What's the number for magenta? Okay, well, that's the rule. Wherever the color of magenta is, with the number that represents the color magenta, well, it is now pulling a range of residential addresses. So this information is what you can press a button when you export and it will send to your Avocadata account. That will then skip trace to the contact information of the homeowners across all the records in the whole system. And when you shoot that button over, it will create a new brick over here for you. I don't have it set up on mine, but it would create a new brick just like any of these before. And it will combine the data together. So then you would have the contact information directly to this individual that you're looking for. And obviously some don't have skip trace, there's mobile. Then it goes into all the other videos we've ever done before, just the science of how to do your own filtering and whatnot. Because maybe you found everyone in the area and you only want doctors. Well, you would be able to go and say, all right, from that alert area that I just fetched and skip traced, I only want doctors. It really, I've heard every single person give every single scenario of something they want to do. And most oftentimes it works. The more creative you are, the more successful I definitely would say people are. So now we have that. And the next piece of this is you can actually draw. So other than just the automations that happen every few hours, just to make sure we're keeping track of everything, you can zoom in anywhere on this map at any time and start to draw locations. So there isn't actually that many crazy storms right now. If I look at it. Not that much magenta, but we'll go off in these small areas. So we can click this button and we can get as specific as we want. I've heard a lot of people over the years tell me that they wanted to be able to draw multiple polygons on one map and then collectively put all the data together instead of having to, you know, manually copy and paste spreadsheets together. and it's looking for the addresses within those polygons. So in those teeny tiny polygons, let's see, does it find any addresses? If not, we'll just do a bigger one just for demonstration purposes. Yeah, so that address had 42 locations in it, but it is able to aggregate them together. So now you don't have to actually do separate images for each location. So I'm going to go add this little one now here too. And then I'll add this. But yeah, it's every single area it is aggregating the locations from. So now you don't have to worry about spreading and getting 10 different spreadsheets put together. So when we're all done with that, we should center the image how we want to, because when you center the image, this is how the image is going to be taken. So when we go up, we can hit Save View. So in all of that, it found 86 addresses. So there were 86 addresses in that entire polygon. Then you can decide, do you want to make it public or do you want to make it private? I'll keep it private. So now when we hit save, now it's right back over in our saved map images. And we have our addresses that were within those sections. So you'll notice that when you do the automation way, it just pulls residential addresses. When you do the polygon, it's pulling coordinates, but it works the same way when it gets enriched in Avocadata, that it's enriching it off the coordinates and the area between the coordinates to find the addresses. And then there's a lot of other tools in here. There's a lot of UI to visually see some stuff. If you want to look at day by day by day, the alerts, you can do that. So yesterday was like a record. There was 645 alerts compared to all these other days. And any of these alerts you can drill into just to do your research. You can save them, and anything you save, you can end up in your lead generation tool. So you can track anything. You really, really, really can track anything. And we see doing some math of the rain. And we have a whole history. So now if you want to start creating some automations of what types of storms you want to track, you can do that. If you were to go over to the alerts table, you can actually create specific rules for what type of alerts you want to be notified for. So we can say hail. And you have to make the webhook, and I can help you guys do some of that. But thought of everything with this. Now there's some more advanced ways you can research if you want to try to find different storms. Depending on your computer, it might go a little slow because it's a lot of data being fetched. It fetches 5,000 storms at a time that have happened historically. And this is just every single alert that's happened. Every single alert. And you have a lot of customization. You can put the columns together for the days. All this data is captured for the most part. Wind speed, wind gust, all of it. And then you can do some more research if you wish to see what the actual alert was at the time. A lot of different UIs that you can adjust and play with. Nice little graphics so you can figure out what you are looking for and what exactly is happening in the area. So if you want to filter it state by state, now you can start figuring out the distribution of alerts per state, per county, going on and on. And as you can see, there is other tabs for other charts that I haven't thought of yet. So any recommendations you guys have, we're able to do stuff pretty quickly here. And again, now we have a timeline of every alert. So you have another nice visual way of tracking what exactly is going on with the storm, the damage that might happen, so on and so forth there. And then over here, you just have some categories, like basically on the left-hand side right here, these are filters that are pre-filtered. So you would be able to adjust those to see what it is that you want on your screen first and what you want to save on your dashboard. Now, moving on, we did the USA map. Yes, no, we didn't. So this is another way to visualize everything. And actually, I'm going to just go type in the word Florida. So there's a mega search menu where you can look up any state, any city, any county, and it'll load in the alerts and the details and everything like that. So for the most part, it is loading in the alerts perfectly. If you notice that maybe New Jersey's in here for some reason because there's a Flagler County, New Jersey, well, let's let us know. Just little fixes we have to do. Basically, what AI was before AI existed, just figuring out what to different expressions to remove different phrasing. And all the images that are saved. So we have all the different days and times. So this was beginning of the day. So these are the state images. So this was September 8th. We took an image of the state. So we can see this was the image we took at 7:11 p.m. September 8th. So there was a storm here. Not really anything too much to worry about. So we don't really need to, probably don't have to go investigate that. But September 9th, being in Florida, we had a lot of storms. So it would give you the ability to keep a timeline on basically what's going on and figure out when you should contact people. Like right here, I don't know where this was, but that's this is in Oklahoma. So this was taken for Oklahoma, Norman, at 11:23 p.m. yesterday. Oh wait, this is the image that we're looking at. So any of these images you can reload and you can get the addresses off of. Now, as of this exact moment today, you cannot have other users log into this. However, if you were to sign up today, you would get that feature included at no additional cost where you can then white label this, customize it, colors, everything, build your own. They don't know we exist once again. And now they can push this data in your white label to a white label of yours. So all this dashboard is doing is replacing the need to do all of this. So now when a user draws, they just have to draw some coordinates. They don't have to do any drop downs, do any research, do any searches, anything to that degree. And they can populate list of leads to push into their Go High Level CRM. They can push it into a dialer, whatever it is. I mean, right, this is the central base. So everything that gets saved and done saves here. Then you get to send it anywhere you want. And we're going to be adding webhooks here. So you can really automate and send it anywhere. It doesn't matter. So it's not just going to be stuck in Go High Level within this system. Now, there is another view I like right here, unified map. Did I update this? I should have. Yeah. So this just gives us an idea of just where the most heavy amount of alerts were. So in this time frame, Florida and Nebraska, Oklahoma center area, that has been the strongest hit. But you can edit the ranges to get an idea of really what's going on. And then you'll also see if there's a lot of severe weather impacting at the same time. This right here, this is the graphic that the severest weather is at the time. So this is a timeline. So if, let's say, the NOAA issues a severe weather warning and it's just this little brick right here, well, this timeline is going to show where all the bricks for this one storm ended up surfacing. So you can get more specific with the date range and you can then narrow it down further. I need to play around with narrowing it down by like the minute because that's exactly how you would remove those different alerts. But it's basically, if you take a picture at the sky, you leave the cap open, watching the stars move, right? So now you get a better idea of just, okay, where did the storm travel through? Even because we don't have a replay of the radar specifically, but we are using the replay indirectly of radar through when the severest storm polygons were issued by NOAA to then be able to, triangulate what's going on. So you can't click into any of these alerts, but it's just meant more so just to give you some ideas of, okay, what areas in the grand scope of all of this were hit the hardest. You can see there's some in Florida here. This is more for flooding. So the flood alert probably. Yeah, flood warning in Volusia County. So if you do you're an adjuster, maybe that might be a good place to search. Got some storms, you might need some insurance damage. And going back one more step, let's go take a look real quick at California. So this map over here is of the last 200 alerts. I was actually editing it right before this, so that way we can do the last 2,000 alerts. And when we look, we can go load into any of these states like we did before. You can see the alert. And if you remember when I said like Florida had some, the alerts got pushed to the wrong area, you see how CA is picking up Oregon because, well, Cascades is in Oregon for whatever reason. So it's picking up those right now, but we'll have that fixed up by tonight. And we are including this in our $4.99 package. I'm sorry, our $8.99 package, where $4.99 gets you unlimited, then $8.99 is getting you the unlimited enrichment through the dashboard 3. So the ability to take addresses from a map and get all the contact information, that is also unlimited. And all of these packages will also include a very broad home improvement intent database. So you're not going to be able to identify for you who looked for roofing, who looked for flooring, who looked for basements, who looked for bathroom, who looked for carpet, none of that. If you want to upgrade to get more specific niche lists and databases like that, 100% we can do that. But for the most part, a lot of people are looking up roofing damage when there is a tornado also have siding damage. So that's one thing I've noticed in terms of just being able to save some money for people. And what do I want to go to next? So we have some more research sections that you can do. So if you want to try to drill in more so what's going on by state, what part of the country, what's going on by alert count. So New Mexico, you'll notice it doesn't make sense right there. That's because NM also means nautical miles. So Alaska has a lot of nautical mile alerts, small craft advisories. So right now, all of Alaska's nautical mile alerts are being sent to New Mexico. I'll figure that out as time goes on. But for better case in point, Michigan seems to actually be one of the heaviest alert sections because this one's not skewed at all, then Florida, then California, then Virginia. So we can go take a look into Michigan, and this is going to load all the details about the state just so that way we can start calculating potential people affected and everything. Let me take a step back on that because I already did get it set up I already got it set up for the counties. So no, refresh, stop searching. I removed it. I have to add that back. But we can zoom in into each county too, other than just the state. But I removed that from now, so we don't worry about that right now. We can see the measurements. So how do we get 92 measurements? Because it probably found a lot of counties or a lot of locations, and it probably found measurements to each location. So it is assigning the measurement from every thing captured here to all of the impacted areas. So if we find, so some of these are like different landmarks and different state parks. Part of that state detail we showed before, the automations are able to recognize some of these. So that's how you got to 96 different actual measurements because, well, we have a measurement here, 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 times the locations that it's in, and that's how you get to that number. So if we wanted to look a little bit more, we can see what's being pulled off. So we can go add, let's go take a look. What were we fetching? It was measurement for temperature. Can I find it? Right there. So you're seeing it's pulling as 8. That's because it's forgetting the 1, but the temperature was 108 degrees. It was a heat alert index for it being 107 degrees there. So that is that reason there. Now, within the research section again, you can look up by storm events like before, and you can look it up through the matrix view. So if you wanted to get very specific about an area, so we'll just say last 12 hours, and I'll pick Florida. Oh, that's Georgia. That's just over. I may not get too fancy with this right now. There was no alerts in Georgia. All right, so here we found 27 alerts. So these 27 alerts were in the last 3 days in Florida. So this is just a better way for you to be able to get some more detail, and you can export data. So now you can actually have a spreadsheet of what's going on with this location. And is there anything else fancy in here? It's just nothing. That's basically everything else. I mean, right now, these are just some CRM functions. I'm not going to get too much detail in because I haven't worked too much on them. But core functions are from here and up to be able to do some research, skip chase, direct addresses and information of people at those addresses, and with the goal of being able to contact them and get some sales. So are there any questions I can answer as to this real quick?
Word. Well, we can wind it down.
Yeah, if you want to wind it down, Akeem.
Yeah, we can close it out.
For today, those are my new updates.
Yeah, I mean, listen, that's this week's AMA. Next week, obviously, we'll get into more. I think we're gonna start onboarding people onto the weather app here pretty quick. So stay tuned for that. If you're interested, certainly look out for that messaging coming to a text or email near you. And yeah, we'll keep building, and you guys keep growing your businesses. Let's keep going. Thanks,
Yeah,
everybody.
by Friday, we'll start getting logins for this. Like I was supposed to have them yesterday, but then I wanted to fix one thing to make sure some more of those alerts, like how I was showing you how nautical miles in New Mexico were getting all screwed up.
Yeah.
That was the one thing that I'm fixing right now, and I expect by Tuesday, or I'm sorry, Friday, and Hakeem and I will put together a special YouTube channel and a special landing page just for this, so that way you guys can get fully aware of everything going on in one organized place and not just through these AMAs.
Cool. Thanks, everybody. Peace.
Later.